Good morning, everyone. It is my pleasure to welcome each one of you to the final day of our 1 week International Faculty Development Program. I would like to introduce our first speaker of the day, Dr. Santosh Tiwari, sir. Dr. Santosh Tiwari, sir, is currently working as Assistant Professor, Department of Genetics, Maharishi Dayanand University, Rohtak, Haryana, India. He did his PhD in University of Delhi, South Campus, New Delhi. His area of research is microbial biotechnology, probiotics, bacteriogens, and antimicrobials. After that, he did his postdoctoral in University of Delhi, South Campus, New Delhi, postdoctoral in Monash University, Clayton, Victoria, Australia, postdoctoral in Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey, USA. He has more than 12 years of teaching experience and he guided 5 PhD scholars and MSc projects. He has published 35 papers and 46 papers presented in national and international conferences. He got Young Scientist Award, DSC, Government of India, and he is a member of national and international scientific bodies. Associate Editor, Probiotics and Antimicrobial Proteins, Springer Journal. Editor, Journal of Applied Microbiology, Letters in Applied Microbiology, Wiley Publication. Course Coordinator, GIAN Program, and Deputy Coordinator, UGC STRIDE Program. Thank you for joining us, sir. Over to you.
Good morning to all of you. Just I want to hear that can you listen my voice or not? Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible, sir.
So again, good morning to all of you, all the audience, and thanks for inviting me. And thanks the organizing committee and all the organizing member of this program for inviting me to present on this topic. And especially thank my colleague and friend Dr. Rajiv and Dr. Shreya for sending the email for the invitation. And really thanks the committee for inviting me on this particular topic, which I really like most, probiotics at war against viruses, and what is missing actually. And you just understand that this topic was assigned to me and it was decided by organizing committee. So I was shocked to know that I have to present this. I was not knowing actually that I have to present on this because you have to prepare the slides and all. My few slides were ready for another topic. So I thought that I will use that topic and present without doing. But when I got the invitation and written my favorite topic, which we recently published also, so I realized that, okay, I will spare some time preparing my fresh PPT and present on this topic. So again, I thank the organizing committee that they insisted me to present on this topic, which is really a great demand of the time also at this time. So with this, we are going to start to understand what is the natural means of therapeutic applications. We all understand that there is several side effects of using chemotherapy and antibiotics. And we understand that since dawn of this civilization and the discovery of antibiotics, it has served several purposes. It has solved to understand several diseases, disease problems, but at the same time, humankind has suffered with several issues with this side effect. Antibiotics has put several side effects on the humans, on the patients. At the same time, several chemical-based therapeutic agents are also, they are being used for the treatment of various life-saving diseases, but at the same time, they are very much harmful to the body. So with the new things, we are going to just understand what we can understand with the nature derived product without understanding, without modifying them in a chemical way or genetically. Can we use some natural products which are actually equally important? So here we have one of them which is called as probiotics, and in general actually these probiotics are being used just since dawn of our civilization. If you understand that the probiotics, the meaning of this word comes from the Greek, that is for life. And in several forms, we are using such kind of probiotics since our very early times. Scientifically, you can define this by that these are live microorganisms. When you consume in a very adequate amount, they cause a very positive effect, health benefit to this host. But if we understand like a layman language, that these microorganisms are found in certain foods which are being eaten, being consumed since dawn of our civilization, especially in India. And this is a very good platform. I can understand that we have South India and North India, both the audience may be present there. And fermented food in India, we are consuming since very past. Even in our epics like Ramayana and others, there is a use of dahi, chach, and curd, whatever you dairy products are there. So all those idli, dosa, sambar, and all these are fermented. If I say fermented, means there is certain role of microorganisms for the enhancement of organoleptic property of the food, and also they provide a very good medicinal values, which actually in the past we were not aware. But as soon as science and technology development has taken place, we understand that yes, there is role of such kind of foods in our life. So there is a vast application, vast use of such kind of fermented food in our society, in our country especially, and all over the world. Not only in India, but throughout the world, people are either directly or indirectly is a part of food or something like beverages or kind of additional food. They are consuming such kind of microorganisms since very past. And I just share you one small story. I remember with a friend from Bulgaria, a country near Russia. He used to talk that in Bulgaria, people were using such kind of dairy product like curd, milk, and so it's very commonly, like in Haryana. And you know, they were very long lived. The age was something, average age was more than 100 years. Even in India, if you see in the past, people were living since very long. I mean, more than 100 was very common that people can live. But nowadays, it is very difficult to reach 100. So that was linked that those in Bulgaria, people were consuming more of dairy product. And it was a very scientific correlation with the epidemiological study has shown that consuming the probiotics or dairy product is directly linked with the age of the person. If I'm talking about the age of the person, it means it's a health. So if your health is good, you live long. So this is what the interest you can create, that such kind of nature-derived product, part of our food, is actually a kind of therapeutic agents also, which were enhancing our immunity, which were fighting with the infectious diseases and others. That we'll discuss in next slide. So this we want to see. So this has emerged one of the safe alternative. Can we explore such kind of probiotics which can be used for the treatment of life's diseases and can be alternative to these chemical agents? So that way this can be used. And recent studies not only in this, but it can be found that it will be a particular alternative for the chemical therapeutics. And several studies till date has demonstrated that these probiotics not only inhibit the pathogenic microorganisms, but also causes several immune modulation of gut microbiota, and they produce certain metabolites like lytic agents, metabolic products, and effective bacteriophages are present in the food enzymes, and especially one of the antimicrobial proteins. Whenever they synthesize such kind of antimicrobial protein is being secreted outside, and the pathogens are being killed. So probiotics, when it is living in the gut, producing certain antimicrobial proteins known as bacteriocins, and these bacteriocins actually inhibit the growth of pathogens. So on the one hand, it is enhancing the organoleptic property of the food, and if you consume the food along with these probiotics, means their bacteriocins are present there, in the gut, if any pathogen is present there, they are found to be inhibited, so they can kill. So it's a dual kind of interest in that. Why it is the world is more conscious for nature derived product, especially in probiotics. We are fed up of using certain chemicals, certain antibiotics. If you don't have option, clinicians are just prescribing. So we are really fed. We want to get rid of the diseases, but we don't want to get rid of our life. So we have to live healthy. And this is the reason that the several agencies from Europe and US, they have approved that this product is generally regarded as safe, which is, we say GRAS, GRAS. So it means generally regarded as safe. So it has come under the category of GRAS, means they have a kind of approval that such kind of product can be used for human consumptions, because most of these probiotics, they pass the clinical guidelines so that can be consumed. I have already mentioned that such kind of probiotics inhibit the foodborne pathogens, and also they are inhibiting the oral gastrointestinal pathogens. As soon as this research is increasing, their interest is also increasing. Earlier, such type of food probiotics was only considered for this one in the food application, but now looking at the importance of such molecules, this has been understood that can be used such kind of product in several clinical applications. So with this, if you just, I have named some of them. These are being used, being consumed in India, and abroad people are using certain kind of probiotics. And please don't confuse. Here in scientific terms, we understand probiotics means the microorganisms, but there are several probiotic foods. Probiotic food means you have food where this kind of microorganism is added. So if I say probiotics, means it is a kind of cell like lactobacillus, enterococcus, lactococcus. So such type of lactic acid bacteria which are especially found in the food, and they act there's several multifarious benefits. So some of them I have mentioned that such kind of probiotics, they have metabolic effect. So it interferes with these host metabolism, like decreases the toxin in the gut, having positive effect on the microbiota, improve the lactose digestion and cholesterol reduction. So whenever it is present in the gut, causes several effects, like as a hydrophobicity, so it adhere with the intestinal wall, and cholesterol reduction, bile salt hydrolase activity. So such kind of acid production, this comes under the category of probiotic effects. So one of them is the production of antimicrobial compounds also, that producing antimicrobial compound has now considered that it is one of the important probiotic effects. Earlier we were not using such kind of, not understanding such kind of things. You know, we were eating such foods, but not knowing what actually they are playing role in our body. But due to this, thanks to this science, that we are going deeper and deeper and try to understand what actually they are doing for the body. Second, I would like to take your attention that they modulate the immune system. Whenever they are present in the host, I will discuss in the later slides, but just to indicate you Whenever it is present in the gut, it just gives a signal to the cells, immune cells, body's immune cells, and it modulates even in the positive or negative direction. And modulation of immune system itself enhance the immunity of total immunity of the body and protects the body from the invaders, the kind of pathogens they are coming from. And now you can correlate with such type of immunity with directly with the infectious diseases. I mean, the viruses, bacteria, and the fungi, all they are present in the environment. But if our body is immune, if you are consuming such kind of food, so our immune modulation is strong, means that will take care of all those pathogens which are coming from. And now, if I correlate to you with the COVID situation in India and most of the European country and the US, the death rate in US and European countries is much higher. Why in India the death rate is low? Because somewhere our natural immune system is stronger than that. I mean, we are using such kind of food since our very past, since our epic age. If you see that there is an involvement of such kind of foods, and our body is more of naturally defended system. So they do immune modulation in the gut. You'll see later. And yes, whenever they are secreting antimicrobial compounds, I mean, they modulate the gut microbiota according to the need. So if there is an increase or decrease in the pathogen, that is called technically dysbiosis. Dysbiosis means something, there is a disturbance in the natural gut microbiota of the human, of the host. So we have a very set of gut microbiota in the host. If that kind of set is disturbed, I mean, there is an increased number of pathogen and decreased number of lactobacilli, that is called a dysbiosis. And by consuming such kind of probiotics, and they are producing certain antimicrobial proteins or bacteriocins, they actually modulates, they enhance the number of lactobacilli and decrease the number of pathogens by killing. And there is a direct link of fluctuation of gut microbiota with the immunity. So if you modulate the gut microbiota, you can naturally modulate the immune system of the body. And by modulating immune system, you can protect the body from several infectious diseases. So this is the thing that we are interested in such kind of a study, that yes, by doing this, we can understand how system can be improved naturally. So this is how it can be scientifically understood and discovered what kind of things are actually important to understand this thing in detail. Just to make you pointed and reminded again that there are certain characteristic features which a probiotic should have. And those characteristic features are clinically approved by ICMR Delhi and also European and US body. So there must be that certain kind of microorganisms which should be a beneficial effect. In long term beneficial effects, you can understand broadly that they are not harmful for the body, number one. And number two, they produce a kind of antimicrobial substances which should be controlled. Control means it's not like killing all. So if it is killing all this, it means our probiotics will also kill. So that will not be of use. So this is what the definition suggests, that if you use in adequate amount and adequate types of probiotics is helpful for the body, or maybe it is difficult to if you are using the other one which is killing all. So it should be a kind of beneficial effect to the cellular processes. Cellular processes like few are very important, like bile salt hydrolase activity, cholesterol reduction activity, and overall like hydrophobicity interaction with these cells. Production of antimicrobial, we have understood that there are certain peptides which are synthesized, produced, secreted outside. And another is modulation of host cell function that we have understood. One is the overall immune modulation and modulation of host gut microbiome. So all these things are present if in a particular microorganism, then it is considered to be a potential probiotic system. Just before you that we try to understand what these bacteriocins are, there are certain bacteriocins which are well known, like niacin, pediocins. Some of them I have put you before you to know. These are ribosomally synthesized peptides. So if I say ribosomally synthesized peptide, means the producer stem has gene of its own and it's synthesized and secrete outside. So thus such kind of peptides, whenever they are secreted outside, so inside the cell they are inactive. So that's a natural defense system of the host cell, that whenever it is secreted outside, there is certain processing in the peptides and only active forms of peptides goes outside, which is active and kills the others. The producer cells are having immunity against, we have immunity proteins on the surface of the cell. So the host cell, producer cell is not being killed, only the cell outside which are. So production of bacteriocin is a kind of natural defense system of the host, and it's successfully established in a particular niche, in the particular ecosystem. It has to be established for two important factors. Number one is space and number two is nutrition. Both are important for a successful establishment of a species in the ecosystem. For example, in the gut, if probiotics is going inside, I mean, it has to be survived. I mean, for that thing, it has to produce certain antimicrobials to kill the other. You know, is a fittest will survive. Is a nature's understanding. So it kills the other cell and survive on its own. By doing that, it takes the nutrients and the space available there and doing its probiotic job after adhering with the epithelial cells. So this is the more important reason why strain need to produce certain kind of bacteriocins, and almost 90% of bacteria are known to produce that kind of antimicrobial proteins for their successful establishment in the ecosystem. Now, why we are interested in probiotic bacteriocin, that we have already discussed, that this is probiotics comes under the category of generally regarded as safe organism. So it's a safe for human consumption. So the protein secreted by this kind of organism is also safe, because we are eating such kind of proteins are also present in the food. So if you are eating this kind of probiotics, we are also eating these peptides, these bacteriocins. So I mean, it's a naturally safe, but yes, before application there should be, it should pass the clinical guideline by safety issue and all, because it's a concentration based consideration. If you are using in high concentration, that can be optimized later. But niacin is being sold throughout the world. Only US has its patent. We have US patent for this. US company produces, and all over the world buys this niacin. You know, none of the other country has license to produce in large scale and purchase. So we are just purchasing throughout the world. So none of the other bacteriocin is available. Yes, pediocin is in pipeline, but others are under characterization, under study, clinical study, because it is a very nascent study in this case.
So your presentation is not visible, sir.
Is it? Yes.
Yeah, now it's fine, sir. No.
It's coming?
No, sir. It's showing a blank page.
Yeah. Maybe it is a figure and taking time.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
I don't know why it is not coming.
Maybe you can continue with your lecture, sir.
Yes, it's now it is visible.
Yes, sir. It's visible, sir.
So what we try to understand such kind of peptides, they actually antimicrobial. You can see this is the membrane, and through this membrane they cause a pore formation in the cell. So whenever they are present interacting outside, so they target with these certain docking molecules. Whenever they are interacting, they make the pore, and by doing this, a dumbbell shaped pores are there, and that actually cause a dissipation of cellular materials, loss of ions, and that cause the death of the target organism. This is what I am showing, that how this organism cause the death of this particular target bacteria by pore formation. So understanding pore formation is important because it's a physical disruption of the cell. So if cell is physically disrupted, there is no gene-based killing. On the other hand, most of the antibiotics, they have very cellular targeted site of action. If you have site targeted, there is a chance of mutation in the protein and bacterial cell get resistance. Whereas in case of bacteriocins, cells are not developing resistance. They are not able to develop resistance because of the formation of pore is a kind of physical disruption and physical killing of the cell. This is how I differentiate the bacteriocins with the antibiotics. Bacteriocins are mostly proteinaceous compounds. So they are protein in nature, so they have very less side effect. Whereas other antibiotics are not proteins. They are having secondary metabolites and other chemically based compounds of several common things. So those having side effect. But bacteriocins are being proteinaceous, they are not having side effect. Number two, what is important is that such kind of bacteriocin kills the cell by pore formation. And pore formation is a physical disruption of the cell, whereas antibiotics kills by site targeted. So the target strain gets chance to mutate this site, whereas in case of this, that bacteriocin, the target cells doesn't get the chance to mutate and become resistant. So if you are using bacteriocin, there is a very less chances of developing resistance. There are very less report or no report available resistance development against bacteriocin. But you know, most of the scientific community, especially the microbiologists or clinicians, they are of the concerns that most of the pathogens are developing resistance day by day, and clinical procedure is getting difficult. Patients are dying, but doctors, clinicians have no options to treat the patients other than molecules, other than the antibiotics. So under pressure, whatever it is, they are being used. Most of the developed country, I mean, antibiotics are banned. You cannot buy from the store directly. But in the developing country, I mean, there is a regulation on the things. I mean, you can buy the things from there, but it's, you know, most of the people are direct access, have a direct access to the antibiotics and they can eat. And bugs are developing resistance day by day. So this is another important issue that such kind of molecules are being preferred. Yes, we have discussed this toxicity issue, that being proteinaceous and spore formation, this toxic effect is lesser as compared to the antibiotics. So we have discussed these things in the. So I would like to highlight some of these importance from this. Since the discovery of this bacteriocin as a niacin, mostly they are considered to be a food preservative earlier time. But currently they are also being used for the fermentative microbiota. So they are being used to control the microbiota in the food. So you can use certain types of bacteriocin producing probiotics, and that will actually allow to grow that kind of strain in the food. So you can control, you can regulate the growth of that particular microorganism in the food. By doing that, you can have. So yes, there is a certain clinical antimicrobials that can be used. And there are lots of study has gone for the niacin, that it has several aspects in clinical antibiotics. It can be treated as an alternative for the clinical antibiotics. Yes, gastrointestinal infections, there are certain pathogens which are being the target for this niacin, like Salmonella, Staphylococcus, Aeromonas, Listeria, is one of them, which is a target that can be used. Recently, the study has come that it causes a kind of anti-cancer agents also. So it can be used as anti-cancer agents and directly targets the cancer cell without affecting the normal cell. This is a very strange. There is a paper you can go through. I have just cited that niacin is specifically target the cancer cell. I'm repeating, and doesn't affect the normal cell. The studies at the starting stage, but they have proved the concept that it affects only targets. So there is a kind of schematic changes in the cancer cell that actually allows the niacin or bacteriocin to enter inside cancer cell and induce the apoptosis. So when there is induction, so I'm not going in much details, just for interest. Yes, S. mutans is one of the oral pathogen. This S. mutans pathogen has a bacteriocin mutacin, which is used for the oral health also. Yes, we have already discussed this MDR issue, and MDR issue can be solved using such kind of natural therapeutics like bacteriocins or probiotics. So it's a kind of one hope from this section that can be used. And there are several respiratory infections like Aeromonas and other species which are being used. This Aeromonas is one of the sensitive microorganisms from this niacin. So this can be used. So we'll discuss that how COVID is linked also with such kind of respiratory infections with the bacteriocins and probiotics. Mastitis is like one of the pathogen Staphylococcus aureus, which is one of the causative agents and has a several problems. And it is sensitive with the bacteria. So from the food safety to the medical applications and the immune modulation and others, so there's several uses of this kind of organism is still available. So it is very recently reviewed. I mean, it's a review from this very known author from the Counter Group. They have published this paper recently. That it's a therapeutic approach they are increasing. Earlier it was niacin, but you can see like pediocin, cectacin, and taucin, they also have their importance in research and development and understanding the science. On the other hand, basic science, on the other hand, the therapeutic application, gut microbiota. I mean, so all these things we are just repeating, but just to show you the recent development in the field that it has a specific application, not only in food safety, but also in the. So now come to the point where we want to study that how probiotics can help the health issues in this. So these peptides, whenever they are produced in the gut, they causes three important factors. One is that it helps to colonize production of bacteriocin by probiotics, helps the colonize. One of the statues, so it is graph. Sorry, in the figure is shown that the cell, which is probiotic, is secreting this kind of bacteriocin, and whenever they are present there, it kills the other cells. Maybe pathogen and others, we don't know, but the producer is successfully established on the epithelial cell because it is producing bacteriocin. Another thing, if this bacteriocin is produced, the pathogen is being killed, and the producer strain is established, it's kill the pathogen. So it's a better stabilizing agent in that. What is third is a very new study has found that earlier we were understanding that yes, it is a producer strain and go there and kill the pathogen, but not like that. It just adheres this probiotics here and does a signal transduction with this, with the help of these small peptides, and induces the immune system of this. And the whole immune system and this probiotics has a crosstalk, and during that it protects the body from the infectious agents. So this is a very interesting study. New people are doing on that to understand what is. So I will show you these things to understand the basic science, which actually helps. And I just told you earlier that we have bacteriocin producer strains, and if you are using such kind of bacteriocin producer strains, you can modulate the gut microbiota of the immune system or the host system. And by modulating that microbiota, one can protect from these pathogenic agents and the disease. So how gut microbiota is linked with the probiotics, and how probiotic produces bacteria and modulates the gut microbiota, and how modulation of gut microbiota has linked with several diseases, several links. So we have several axes. Maybe in previous lecture you might have very good lecture with this Dr. Sharma on the gut microbiota. So there, you have a gut brain axis, you have gut liver axis, you have gut skin axis. So without doing that, you cannot handle anything. So the central point is the gut. Earlier saying was that if you are hungry, your brain doesn't work. It means there is some role of microbes inside that stimulate the brains, that yes, you have to be active if you are full. If you are not full, then you are not active. So this is one of the very good study they have demonstrated, that how one can modulate the producer strains by doing that. So I just quickly I'll show you that this is a bacteriocin producer strain, and this black line is non-producer. So if there is a producer strain which is established in the intestinal gut better as compared to non-producer which is being killed. So in the mutant cell, if this is a red one in the mutant, if the mutated gene of bacteriocin, the cell was not able to survive in the gut. And the very good study they have clinically demonstrated in the animal model that if you are using bacteriocin producer probiotics, actually it stabilized in the gut better as compared to any non-producer strains. So this is actually helps in the understanding of, so to understand what is the role of such kind of bacteriocins in the probiotics or gut microbiota modulation. So the clinical applications in infections, infectious diseases as an antibacterial agent, as a food preservative, such kind of probiotics are being used and they are known. But their antiviral activities are very least reported. Some of the authors, they have reported that these probiotics inhibit the viruses. And I mean, that can have given a kind of hope that whether it can inhibit the existing viruses which are causing such kind of pandemic or severe disease or not. So, I'm not a virologist. I'm very honestly telling you. But we work on certain compounds which are antiviral, probiotics and the bacteriocins. One of our colleagues in US and Australia, whenever this pandemic was started in March, 22nd of March, I communicated them that we should explore this possibility. Yes, there is a positive and even we don't know, but we should explore such kind of possibility. And they surrender. That no, Santosh, we can't do because there is no established mechanism of antiviral activity reported till date. And don't you believe that just after 5 days, there was a study from China and paper published by Zhu et al. In March 20, the paper came that this COVID-19 has a very direct relationship with the gut microbiota. And during COVID patients investigation, it was found that the probiotic cells were going down, lactobacilli were going down, bifidobacteria are going down. It has a very direct correlationship with this disease and the probiotics. And now those friends were ignited and they very stimulated. That's why Santosh was right that we should start writing something. Now we had email communication, conversation, everything is possible during this lockdown period, and we tried to communicate this thing and found that yes, there is some link. I will show you that how they are. Lots of work people are doing that to link with this, whether this probiotics is active or not against such viruses. The previous study suggests that they have antiviral activity, and there are possibly three mechanisms. Number one, the probiotics possibly interacts with the virus and inactivate. Number two, it produces, yes, antiviral compounds, and mostly they have worked on S2O2, lactic acid, and bacteriocin. And out of these three, bacteriocin has come one of the prominent molecule that yes, it has antiviral activity. They have seen earlier with the influenza virus, herpes virus, and others. Such kind of study was there. Yes, coronavirus is new, so not work was done much on this topic. But immune modulation was one of the earlier feature of this probiotics. So that is also maybe directly or indirectly linked with this such kind of study. So first report was in 2003 that this group Westman, they were working that yes, probiotics has such kind of role to that loss of the plaque forming unit in the presence of bacteriocins like this. If you use this bacteriocin, this the viability inhibition goes down as compared to the control. So they were the first just an indication that this loss was there, plaque forming PFU loss was there in the cell lines. In vitro studies suggest that. The second one is saying that in the cell line studies in the Fair et al. 2013, that inhibitory activity of one of the bacteriocin levi-1, they studied against the HIV virus and found that yes, it has an anti-HIV activity. And you can found that this one is the infected cells, HIV infected cells without levi, and this one is with levi. And when you use these cells without bacteriocin, the cells are not possible to visualize. All the cells are dying, these cell lines. And whereas if you use such kind of bacteriocin, the cells are visible. This is control cells are there. So just to show you an indication that such type of molecules which are antiviral in nature and inhibits the even the work initial was herpes and now HIV. And this is a very much good correlationship with the probiotics against this vesicular viruses. And in this case, the first one is the infected cells only. They have a immunofluorescence visualization and found that if you use the probiotic cells, these cell lines with the viruses are attached on the cell. And if you treat with the bacteriocins, and this kind of fluorescence has gone, it means this bacteriocin interferes in the binding of virus with this cell lines being used. So it means somewhere they have mechanism, either virus is not allowed to bind with the cells, or they are being killed, or they are being inactivated, so are not able to bind. So another study suggests that there is some role of this thing. I will not take much time to move you either and either because I am talking too much only on that. Our main topic to this to understand whether they have some link with this coronavirus or not. Trust me, there is no laboratory study which can explain this thing, but there are certain link which has been supported with this like gut microbiota that you can see. And we understand this virus is a kind of envelope virus which has RNA as a genetic material, and the spike protein and envelope proteins and the membrane proteins are there. And out of this, the spike protein play a very important role in this such kind of pathogenesis. And this spike protein actually a target for the cells, the human cells, whenever this is infected. So such kind of virus is there. What we understand, there are several hypotheses has gone that this virus is chemically synthesized or laboratory based, but colleague, we don't know. There is no clear evidence available that the virus is chemically synthesized. No, even if it is there, but we don't have our literature which supports that it is chemically synthesized. But yes, there are certain wild animals which were found to produce have such kind of viruses which are known to be generated. I mean, this such kind of bat or felines, those animals are known to be generated. Means, this virus was existing in bat since very past time. And can this probiotics play a role in this? And this from their best generator to the reservoir. Reservoir means these domestic animals like cat, dog, somewhere camels are also being used as a domestic animals. So by disturbing the nature, we are playing a big role with the nature, disturbing the natural habitat and nature of the wild animals. So all those wild animals are either getting disappeared or not able to survive. So it is being transferred from this generator to reservoir, what we hypothesize that from the wild animal it has come to the domestic animals. And from these domestic animals, by doing, human has direct interaction. But for several activity, they have such kind of domestic animals in the houses, and even outside the houses, farmers and other they do lots of activities and their domestic animals. So you have interactions. So once it is there, the interaction is there, it may affect this kind of things. So we are linking with this. It has come from the wild animal to the domestic animal to the whole humanity is now affected with this kind of outbreak. So this is what the scientific discovery has evidenced for the spread of coronavirus, and such kind of possibility may exist in the nature because of the disturbing link from the wild, domestic, and the humanity. This may happen. And if we try to understand that this kind of links are available and certain evidences available in the COVID patients, that the infected patients with the coronavirus, there is a decrease modulation of cytokines, or there is a hyperproduction of such kind of cytokines in that case. And whenever you have probiotics in the gut, actually they interacts, and by doing that they have immune modulatory action that we have discussed in the past slide. And by doing this immune modulatory action and direct antiviral activity also, so there is a clear link found that if you infect with this COVID coronavirus COV2, and there is a link with this immune modulation. So that kind of link has been reported in general, but detailed molecular level studies is still lacking. What we are looking for is that we understood that such kind of viruses actually have a spike of 2, and this spike has very much affinity with the ACE2 protein of the human cells. So this ACE2 is not only found in case of lung, but also the most of the part cells like kidney, liver, gut, and lung. This ACE2 is present. So ACE2 is very much homologous, has a receptor recognition site for this spike protein, and spike protein actually directly interact with this ACE2 of this host cell. So this is how it get internalized. It's kind of gateway for this coronavirus, which enters inside the human cells and cause whatever its replication and other pathogenesis takes place. But what is important to us with these, certain in silico study we have seen that bacteriocin binds with the spike protein of coronavirus. I mean, this is not performed under the in vivo condition, but trust me, there are several authenticated groups, reliable worldwide. They have such kind of study that if you do docking study, it specifically binds with this bacteriocin with this spike protein of this coronavirus. And if it's binding, doing that, it actually interferes the binding of spike protein with the ACE2. And if binding of spike protein, if ACE2 is interfered, the virus is not able to enter inside the host cell. I mean, if that can be used as a possible prophylaxis or therapeutic agents in the future, will be of great application. This we hypothesize. So again, with this link, with you have in gut microbiota kind of homeostasis. So if this homeostasis is disturbed, like by infection, either it is hyperproduction or underproduction of immune response. If this kind of things are getting disturbed, and there is a disturbance in the gut microbiota, that we have already seen that if such kind of disturbances are there, it is actually studied by Zhu et al. And others that there is a disturbance in the gut microbiota, and disturbance in the gut microbiota actually affects the immune modulation, and immune modulation is directly linked with this kind of infection with the coronavirus. So this is what most probably I would be an ultimate slide for me, that a link between these three groups, that we have a kind of generator animals, this is, and this is a human. So there is what is the link and what a probiotics can play an important role. So this virus has a very good link with this generator. If I say generator, means felines, bats, means such kind of animals which were known to harbor such kind of viruses since very fast. Those viruses are there. And this is a site of initial virus propagation for the intermediate host and passive vector. So from the intermediate host, it has reached to the human. How this probiotics are playing, just we have all seen this thing. This is just a summary slide. Probably this is a kind of conclusion you can understand. I have not written conclusion, but this is a conclusion that how this can be, this is a probiotics activity throughout this. So disruption can be de-link this relation between this animal and the human by using this kind of probiotics. So you have antiviral action. The probiotics, they produce such kind of antimicrobial compounds to during the colonization in the probiotics. So there are two types. One may be indirect action, which is called as immune modulation. If a human's immune modulation is strong, that de-link the virus, that de-link the coronavirus not to infect. If it is produces that kind of modulation of gut microbiota, if gut microbiota is modulated, immune modulation will be there. If gut microbiota is not modulated directly, immune modulation is there, even the same purpose is to be solved. And there is some barrier, the kind of protective barrier by these probiotics and the intestinal cells are also there, which also inhibit the entry of direct viruses inside the host. So this is a kind of indirect. What a direct effect we are speculating that there is a production of antiviral compounds, so anti-competitor molecules and bioactive secondary metabolites. For example, it is from some of the study that lactic acid is also antiviral, which is produced by certain most of the probiotics. So production of secondary metabolites like lactic acid and bacteriocin, one of them. This is a great direct indication that this peptide inhibit the virus, and on the other hand, indirectly you can say immune modulation. So this is how we are associating a link between the COVID patients and coronavirus through this study, and found that yes, such kind of nature-derived product. I'm coming to my own statement, which I started, that probiotics and nature-derived product are indicative of such kind of delinking of the outbreak what we have. So this we recently communicated, and this has been now published. And you know, this is the same title what we had yesterday in presentation, probiotics at war against virus. So this is the same title has been accepted by this journal, and they appreciated that yes, this is not new, but we indicated at that time there was no need for to work more on the viruses. People were not making more attention, but yes, against herpes and HIV, people were using such kind of peptide for the medicine. But now there are several links are coming that whether such kind of molecules can be used against the COVID virus or not. So this was appreciated, and we are thankful for the journal. This is my group, and I'm not going to present my work here. So we have worked on several aspects of probiotics in our laboratory and bacteriocins. We have certain bacteriocins characterized from indigenous food. So I will be happy to share with you that from the DOSA, one is from DOSA, and from DOSA better, actually we isolated these probiotics, and one of these student purified and characterized this bacteriocin for several applications. and found to be broad spectrum activity. So my group is dedicated on the holistic approach to understand what probiotics are, what are the metabolites it produces, and how these metabolites are actually helpful to understand this as an alternative for the chemically used molecules like antibiotics. So this is what from my side. Thank you for your patience listening.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir, for highlighting the essential role of microbes in probiotics. It was fascinating to know the importance of probiotics and bacteriocins in our daily life. The slides were very lively and captivating, sir. There were many new information shared by you. Sir, we never thought of a link between probiotics and corona. Thank you for those new details. Thank you once again, sir, for such an enlightening presentation.
Thank
Yeah,
you very much.
there are a few questions, Santosh, which I would read out. You can try to answer that. First is by Lipika Patnaik. She says, "Do probiotics supplement the function of priorities?" Uh, I think this question is slightly not clear because I would request Lipika, you can rephrase the question. Meanwhile, I can read out the question from Rahana. Rahana says, which probiotic can be used in the case of COVID? Can you tell us that which are the most effective probiotic microorganisms which are effective in the case of COVID?
Just I would like to share that people are working under the laboratory conditions, but most studied probiotics are today lactobacillus and bifidobacterium. Lactobacillus is most prominently known probiotic, so it can as a COVID, but whether it has activity against corona, not directly known. People are working on that. Another is one of them is lactococcus. So lactococcus is another that can be used.
All right. So there's another question from Subhadarshini Parida. She asks, why mainly lactobacillus is used as probiotics, not any other microbial strain?
Yes. So what is there? We are just connecting with the nature of our life. In the gut, it has been found of this lactic acid bacteria. The lactobacilli is the we have lactobacillus and the bifidobacteria. These two are most commonly found in the gut, and there is not any kind of disturbances. So people are more of working on the naturally habitant, which are not causing any side effect to the host, and they are producing several metabolites which are for application. And this could be the possible reason that these lactobacilli are found. And one I told you that it is approved by the European and the US Commission, FDA and the European. Even in India, ICMR has approved of lactobacillus because it's just safe state, having what I told grass, generally regarded as safe for me. Thank you for asking this question.
Yeah, the other question is by Dr. Dulal Barua. Dr. Dulal is asking, so can probiotics cause side effects in case of immunocompromised patients?
The definition itself suggests,
yeah,
itself suggests that there is an adequate amount. Microorganism, when it is taken in appropriate and adequate amount, will cause health benefit to the host. So number one, the type of microorganism. Number two, the adequate amount. So this is what we are moving towards, the personalized medicine, that all the probiotics, they produce a specific type of bacteriocin. One probiotic produces bacteriocin which kill one pathogen. Another probiotic produces another bacteriocin which doesn't kill that pathogen, but it kills other pathogen. So you have to use a specific probiotics for the specific host, and that has to be in concentration based, the amount based, and type based also. It has to be very personalized. Yes. So if you're not using in that way, it may cause harm.
All right. So Lipika has another question. Lipika says, do prebiotics, I repeat, do prebiotics supplement the function of probiotics? So I'll repeat. She is asking, does prebiotics supplement the function of probiotics?
See, this the name Ritika, I don't know what you tell.
Lipika.
Yes. So, prebiotics is the food for probiotics. Probiotics is the microorganism, means this lactobacillus is a live cell, and prebiotics is the food ingredients from the plant and from the other sources we use. Mostly they are plant source. So you use prebiotics to give food to the probiotics. If prebiotics is absent, then probiotics will not better survive. So most of the food item, if you see, they have prebiotics probiotics combination. Means the probiotic which is there should be supported by the nutrients. So this is the reason that whenever you consume, like most of the salads, they have prebiotics, Rajiv, you understand. This raw material salads and others, they have prebiotics content high. If you eat the prebiotics along with this, and then probiotics will be more suitable. And what is there in the Haryana, we have one of the beverages called as rabdi. So in that rabdi, we have a kind of wheat grain, a kind of flour, wheat flour, and this curd. They mix together. So you have a proper combination of probiotics and prebiotics together. So most of the foods in outside country also, they have proper combination of probiotics and prebiotics, but prebiotics cannot supplement probiotics. Probiotics has to be there to perform its function, and prebiotics is essential for its nutritional requirement.
All right. The next question is from Marin Gracious. Is asking, is single cell protein of microbial origin effective as probiotics in immunomodulation? So she's asking whether single cell proteins of microbial origin they are effective as probiotics in immunomodulation.
See, there are other compounds which has been used for immune modulation. The probiotics is not the only one. This yes, single cell protein are used for the modulation of immune, but probiotics is a live cell, as we have seen already. That probiotics are the lactobacillus, the microorganism. So if you are using microorganism, it goes inside the gut and manage everything there. I mean, it will multiply, it will stabilize in the gut and perform the function. Just you have used one time. But if you are using any protein or chemical, you have to take several times, because one time it goes and vanishes the second time. So one time if you are taking probiotic, it can manage your function efficiently because it's a live cell. So already will divide and probiotic efficacy inside the gut. So yes, the single cell protein can be have been used for the modulation, but it cannot replace probiotics.
Okay. So Pavitra Mishra, she is asking, are the prebiotic and she's also immunobiotic? They are related to any antiviral activity. The prebiotic and immunobiotic. So are they related to antiviral activity?
Antiviral is a very broad term. There are studies with the prebiotics with certain viruses, but the kind of virus you are dealing with, this the nature of all the viruses are different. So the initial study suggests that there are certain anti-inhibitory antiviral prebiotics are there. I mean, those prebiotics which are causing the immune modulation, people probiotics, but yes, that can be provided they have antiviral activity or not.
All right.
To be tested.
Okay. So there's one last
Yes,
question from Rahana Moideen. She's asking, do cooking affects probiotic efficacy?
Sure. Why?
Yeah.
This is the reason, reason that. Yeah.
Yeah. Does cooking affects probiotic efficacy?
Sure. If you kill the cell, the efficacy will be drastically reduced. So if you are using probiotics, that has to be live. If you are consuming, that has to be live in the cells. So yes, it has a very good link. So most of the food, I mean, people sometimes prefer half cooked. This could be the reason.
Right. So that's, I think we have come to an end of all the questions. I think I should congratulate Dr. Santosh for effectively answering all these questions. And I, being colleague of Dr. Santosh, we do meet very often, but we never discuss science. But today I have come to know that he has got very good leads, very good breakthrough leads, innovative leads. I congratulate him once again for contributing so much to the society by highlighting this very important fact that yes, probiotics are also related to the antiviral activity. So, Dr. Santosh, once again, on behalf of all the organizing committee and on behalf of the participants, I thank you for being with us and sharing your leads and knowledge with us. Thank you once again, Dr. Santosh.
My pleasure to be part of this. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you.